cubs that were born just this past winter. And right now they're learning from their mother. They're learning how to fish. They're learning how to behave around other bears, learning how to behave around people even. So the falls is really not a particularly safe place to bring your cubs, and bears will oftentimes avoid this area, but if the reward outweighs the risk, they think it's going to be worth it to and we've seen a few other mother bears do that as well. One of the bears we've seen do that, we don't have a number for. One of the sows, we've been... So we're all gonna just kind of have to learn as we go at this point. And, you know, as we do this, as we continue to see these bears around, we'll be able to compare pictures and study them a little more closely and hopefully get some more concrete identifications. So those cubs we saw just now, just like these other bears, these adult bears, they're also putting on weight for the wintertime. From what we understand, after cubs have left the den for the first time, you know, they'll nurse throughout the summer, but they won't nurse, from what we understand, in the den the following winter. And so it's just as necessary, maybe even more necessary for them to pack on that weight so they can survive their hibernation this coming winter. To pack on that weight, their hibernation this coming winter. So adult bears, they can put on consistently 1 to 2 pounds a day over the summertime. Spring cubs can put on even more weight than that. They're nursing from their mother. They're also eating whatever salmon they can scrounge up from their mother, or whatever they can find on their own even. Looks like 151 is taken off. Didn't look like he was really pushed out. Maybe just decided to take a break, take a rest, maybe come back later. And we're left with the, again, the star of the show, 480 Otis. So all these bears are different. We don't tag any of the bears. We don't have collars on any of the Brooks River bears. But they all have slight variations. Generally, when we get into the fall months, they'll start turning darker. 480, the bear we're looking at now, doesn't get quite as dark as a lot of the other bears. And that's just kind of one of his unique characteristics. They all behave a little bit differently as well. This is definitely 480's preferred fishing spot. A lot of people have called this Otis's office, this kind of back corner area. What he's doing is he's sitting and he's waiting for a fish to swim close enough that he can just basically reach down with those powerful jaws and snatch it out of the water, or maybe pounce on it and pin it to the ground. So he's using his eyesight, and he may even feel a fish bump into him as he sits there. I talked a little bit about the dash and grab being a technique, a fishing technique that bears will use. And this technique that we're seeing 480 use is the sit and wait technique. Basically, like I said, just sitting, waiting for a fish to swim by, and then he'll pounce on it. We saw some snorkeling by that younger bear a little earlier. We haven't seen any pirating so far. That would be stealing fish from another bear. Usually done by more aggressive bears than we've seen so far. But definitely one of the most conservative for energy of the fishing techniques is the one we're seeing now, the sit and wait. With that thick layer of fat and the thick warm fur, these animals can withstand the cold temperatures of the water, and really doesn't take a whole lot of energy for them. Doesn't drain them quite as much as it would you or I. The water's about somewhere around 55 degrees, between 50 and 60 degrees. So it's pretty darn cold. But not too bad for a bear. Especially a big, fat bear like 480.
You still on or are you finished?
Sometimes in July, as we would watch Otis fish, we could actually see him fall asleep as he's fishing. Kind of speaks to how well he can conserve his energy as he's continuing to take on